proper, given this is our first meeting in 2023. Get yourself your favorite January midweek drink. Keep warm if you are in some parts of the world. And we'll start in the normal Rotary protocols, the Rotary Grace and the 4-way test, and then the object of Rotary. So let's request a number of people to take us through that. So the Rotary Grace, Prayer Lamek, who was the last person to speak. The 4-way test, Lee Minor. Good to see you. You'll take us through the 4-way test. And the object of Rotary, we can have Job on Deco. So Lamek, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So I'll do the Rotary Grace. Oh Lord and give of all good, we thank thee for our daily food. May Rotary friends and Rotary ways help us to serve thee all our days. Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Lamek. Millie.
The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Millie. Job.
Family of Rotary, good evening. The object of Rotary. The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise, and in particular to encourage and foster 1, the development of acquaintance as an opportunity for service. 2, high ethical standards in business and professions. The recognition of the worthiness of all useful occupations and the dignifying of each Rotarian's occupation as an opportunity to serve society. 3, the application of the ideal of service in each Rotarian's personal, business, and community life. And 4, the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through a world fellowship of business and professional persons united in the ideal of service. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Job. All right. So before we get to the business of the day, it's good to hear from a few people. We can take 5 minutes just to hear from a couple of people, so that we know the room has people, not just Zoom account logged in. So I'll pick randomly any file. If you're in a position to turn on your camera, please do. If you're not, we'll allow valid excuses or valid reasons. So the first one, because he always runs away, will be Mutia. Mutia, followed by Francis, Amonde. Then we shall have Liz Momo, then Grace R, then Mwangi Ngochi. So randomly, then if time allows, I'll pick another 5, then we'll have our speaker. So Mutia, you always run away. So thank you for hosting us. We shall consider renewing your contract. Please say Happy New Year and tell us a little bit of what you're up to in 2023.
All right. Good evening, everyone, friends and family of RotaryJabali. My name is Mutie Mule. My classification is in software engineering, and also I'm a business owner here in Kenya. President SK, you will allow me not to turn my video on because I'm in a place where I can't turn my video on. So for me, 2023, I'm already back to class. I'm pursuing a business transformation course called Stanford Seed, which is offered by the Stanford Graduate School of Business to just further my knowledge in terms of scaling our business, because I think in 2022, we realized that it comes a time where if you start a business, especially if it's a fast growing business, the business can easily outgrow you. So you need to continuously, as a leader, gain wisdom and knowledge. And that's what I'm endeavoring to do in this year through the Stanford Seed program.
All right, thank you, Mutia. That's serious work. Good to see you back in class. We saw the photos, and all the best to you and your boss. Francis?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. President. Sorry, I won't be able to turn my video on. Yes, we are those people. So we are trying to multitask, and it is tough. Happy to see everyone here. We are quite a good number today, and I'm happy. Yeah, the year is good, looking positive. I can't complain, and grateful, and also looking forward to the forthcoming Sunshine Rally. And yeah, that's all I can say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Francis. Now I forgot who I called up. I think Grace R was there. Liz Momo, and then Grace. Then after that, I think we'll have Terrell, who seems to be at work. Then my good friend G. Ray. And I think we'll close it at that in the interest of time. So Liz seems to be away. Grace.
I can talk. Hi.
All right, go ahead, Jerry.
Oh yeah, so my name is Jire, and I occasionally will jump in and join the Rotary Club in Kenya, thanks to Sam invite. I am currently located in the US, Minnesota, and I am full Rotarian here in the States, and I still love Rotary, so I always come back.
All right, Jire, seems you're stuck in the times we were Rotaractors. We graduated a long time ago.
I know. I'm having a hard time fully graduating.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Mwangi Kochi.
Oh, hi guys.
Hello.
Mwangi Ngoshi. And what I'm doing this year is attending physical meetings. I hope this will follow up with another physical meeting. I am from Rotaract Langata, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, that's Kente. Please use your real names.
It's my undercover name.
Thank you for joining. Terrell, and then Guy, I can close for us.
Hi everyone, I hope you can all hear me. I have a very bad flu. I haven't gotten the accent, so ile tu bado tuko kazi, mzungu anacheza rap, so we're still working. Happy to hear and see many people, almost 56. Yeah, and happy new year to everyone.
Happy New Year to you, Terrell. Gaia.
I was hoping the Gaia being referred to is the other Gaia, because your choice of gender the beginning is quite disturbing. So I'll ask that Eva Kaburu, if Eva Kaburu is around, to speak on my behalf.
Eva is sure. I'd seen her pop in.
But as we wait for that, good evening all. I think the evening and the year started quite strongly. I like the numbers that I'm seeing this evening. And I'm hoping that everyone will have a very good year. We are, as a club, we are looking at really cementing our place, especially in the second half of this Rotary year. And I'm looking forward to the session. And as the only opportunity I'll get to speak, I invite all of you to join in on Saturday as we have the district state of the district address by the district governor and the district leaders. The link is already being circulated. So join in and see where we are as a district and what we're doing. Thanks so much. Yes. I never forget us, Norris, especially when we are on top of the table. Yeah, thank you. The elephant has refused to come down. The elephant is now dancing on top of the tree. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guy. Good to hear from you, Innocent. It's too early to start Arsenal banter. Wait for the second half of the season. Anyway, just to balance on genders, as Gaia has said, let me request two ladies to introduce themselves. So we'll start with the other Gaia, Vicky. And then as I've seen Florence K, and Perpetual. Good to see you over here. I think we can do that. So three more. Vicky, Florence, and Pops.
Sorry for that. SK, can you repeat exactly what do you want us to say?
Tell us about all of your 2023 and the plans and what has already failed. That will be a good start. I know you're not an Arsenal fan, so you might not comment about Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm a Man City fan. Anyway, I'm Victoria Gaia. 2023 started on a very high note, busy season for it's a bit hard already. Sorry, I have a cold. I've had a cold for a week now, so sorry if my voice is a bit rough. For me, 2020, so far so good, except the busy season part. I think that's all I can say about 2023, sorry. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Vicky. Florence.
Thank you, SK. It started out very well for me. Started with my birthday. So I'm now 25, very happy about that. And work also started really well. I was able to finish a passion project. And honestly, I'm looking forward to the year. I have a few goals set up. Having hit one, I feel very good. And I feel like it's a year blessed by God. That's how I'm feeling.
All right, thank you and welcome. Pops.
Thank you, SK. Good evening, friends and family of Rotary. My name is Perpetual Mashua. I'm a Pops from the Rotaract Club of Nairobi Central. My 2023 started off well, but ikaniweka chini kidogo at the beginning of this week. I had a bike accident, so I'm here nursing some wounds. But apart from that, so far so good in terms of everything that I needed to work on within the first few weeks of January. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to a better year ahead, the next few months, hoping I won't have any other accidents like it is started. Yeah, thank you, and looking forward to the session today.
All right, thank you, Pops, and wish you a very quick recovery. So I am sure the reason most of us are here is because of our speaker tonight and the topic to be discussed. So the next 30 or so minutes, not actually 30, about the next 45 minutes, we have a session on, focusing on our 2023 professional priorities. So when we look at our membership, As you may know, RotaryJabali is newly chartered, and our target was young professionals. And we found that all our charter members are either in their first or second job, rarely in the third, so first or second, and also some are starting out businesses in their formative years. Talk of 3 to 8 years. So we are fairly young professionals, as you may call us, and we have a whole future ahead. So as we start the year, the focus tonight will be how do we shape our 2023 and how do we build careers that will run into the future and sustain us in these ever-changing times, because as we have experienced with all that has happened since 2020, a lot is going to change every so often. So speaker tonight is a friend to many of us and a Rotarian, Paul Kasimu. So Paul is a member and a past president of the Rotary Club of Muthaiga. I think most of us have met him in that capacity. Professionally, he is a HR professional and also a certified executive coach, and has a broad spectrum of experience spanning Africa and the UK. In his many career roles, he has worked at Barclays back in the day before it became ABSA, Kenya Airways or KQ, Diageo in East Africa, that is EABL, and currently is the Chief HR Officer at Safaricom. He has also served as a board member of AMREF Health Africa in Kenya, chairman of the Institute of HR Management in Kenya, and is a member of the USIU-Africa University Council. Paul believes that his purpose is inspiring possibilities in others. And tonight he shall help us discuss in this ever-changing world, or in this VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world, how do we build a career that will be relevant today and also in the future? So ladies and gentlemen, please put your virtual hands together for Rotarian Paul Kasimu.
Mr. President, I can't see any hands, so I will, because I know I'm dealing with digital natives, and I was expecting.
Probably not seeing the hand.
Now I do. I've only seen Lamex.
I can count about 6,
Maina,
9.
Just past. Now we are talking.
Yes.
Now we are talking, and I've just admitted Victor. Now, talking by a bit. No, how do I start? First, Happy New Year. I'm told it's only in Kenya where people say Happy New Year all the way up to June of the year. But somebody else today told me it's up to 15th of March. But be that as it may, since this is our first interaction, I thought I should say Jambo. And for those dialing in from far, good morning. It's evening here, but the year has started. I think before I get started, I wanted to be a little bit relevant and ask the question. And you don't have to type. So let's have a conversation. Some call it a discussion. And I think that's what I will do. Because I said I would do a deck. And I said, no, I'm not going to do a deck. I'm going to have a discussion. So what are the 3 things that 3 people, maybe if you can help me, what is success for you in the next 30 or so minutes that we are going to interact with you? Just trying to manage expectations. Anything you would particularly want to hear from me? From where I sit, I can only see the president, and the rest are potential representations of people. They're not moving or saying anything. Mutie Mule. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. So for me, success for the next 30 minutes as a business owner would just be like some insights into the changing aspect of careers. Because from experience, we've seen that actually these days, yes, university degrees might still be relevant. They're still relevant. But in the tech world, we are seeing a lot of people who are quite talented in programming. How can we still be able to progress in that side of career? But what I've also noticed is that such people, though they may not have university degrees or college degrees, but they have the technical expertise, they lack some soft skills. So how can you also be able to blend them into being like wholesome employees and professionals? Thank you.
Great question, Mutia. Thank you very much. Two more. Please, let's make it interactive. Daisy is saying more money, more travel, and no rent. Buy money is success to me. So will that be achieved in the next 30 minutes, Daisy? Just being a little bit perpetual.
Thank you, Paul. I'd like
close. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to know, in terms of having or rather building a future fit career, how do you manage the external influences? As a person, you might have things that you need to work on and actually work on them, but there are other external things that are out of your control that may affect you achieving this. So probably you can elaborate on how to go about such. Thanks.
Excellent. There are 4 hands now. It was Ben, and then we can hear Job, Wycliffe, and Ngochi, and we close there.
Thank you for the opportunity. So success for me in the next 30 minutes will be how I'm able to advance in my career in terms of how do I remain relevant in the job market, and is changing or switching careers at this juncture whereby someone has built it over the couple of years, is changing it being too ambitious, or does it make sense? And how do I still again remain relevant for the next the rest part of my career? Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Job, Wycliffe, and Ngochi. Mwangi.
Good evening. Success for me would entail understanding there's a new concept I learned, lifetime employability and lifetime employment. So to just understand the distinction between the two and which one would be more ideal for young professionals like us in these times. Thank you so much.
Most welcome, Job.
Okay, thank you, Paul. My success in 30 minutes will be project myself in, let's say, 30 years. How will I adapt to change? There's many things affecting the job market. And I would like to understand how can I be flexible in terms of scope of my work such that I don't become irrelevant, as Ben had said before, something like, flexibility and to be able to be still marketable in 10 to 30 years.
And let's finish with
Hello.
Or Guti, yeah.
Yes. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Wycliffe.
Yes, my question is somehow like, for example, me, I'm a graphic designer, which I taught myself, got employed, but I'm also a graduate of mathematics, economics with IT. So how, like, I feel like I've left around the thing that I went to do in university for 4 years. So how do I transition to balance the two? Personal, the one that I've taught myself and the one that I've learned. So I'm toward learning. In the next 30 minutes, I'm expecting to somehow understand how do I balance the two, from the passion, the one I had, to the one that I did 4 years?
No, thank you, everybody. And let me first say thank you very much. I think that helps me in terms of just seeing how I can be relevant, to use the words that have been used by some of you. But first things first, in addition to what Mr. President said, I had somebody say they are running with the Stanford seed. So actually, in the past, I have run the people module, talent, skills, how do you ensure that your T plan, which is a transformation plan, as the right kind of foundation in terms of people and organization. And I'm also occasionally an adjunct lecturer at Strathmore, in addition to something I'm pursuing, which is, and I haven't gone to the field, I've already defended my thesis, my PhD on leadership, and looking at the lifelong skills that drive leader competencies and effectiveness. But for starters, I think, let me just say something about the environment in which we are operating in. And if you look at the very beginning, at the the end of the 18th century, we started with the steam engine, where we were talking of mechanical manufacturing, physical labor, basic engineering. Then we moved to the start of the 20th century when we talked of electricity, mass production, division of labor. That was the second industrial revolution. So the first industrial revolution was at the end of the 18th century. 20th century beginning, we had the second industrial revolution. And then sometimes in the 70s, we had the computer and automation of manufacturing age, which was the third industrial revolution. And then we're talking about deep expertise, disciplinary matters, STEM. So when you look at sciences, technology, engineering, mathematics. And actually, interestingly, in the late or early 70s, we saw that most CEOs were engineers. And actually, some of them have stayed past that. So the likes of Michael Joseph, the likes of Titus Naikuni, later grew up to become CEOs. But there was also a time when we had accountants becoming CEOs. And it was seen like you have to talk about the stakeholder, shareholder, what's the return, talk money, talk return, etc. And then in the last 10 or so years, we had now the fourth industrial revolution, which is around the cyber, physical systems, Internet of Things. And this was before COVID. So the learning agility, adaptability, empathy, and transdisciplinary kind of learning became the currency of today. And actually, while oil still remains a currency, you find data has now become the next big thing. So if you have big data, you will be speaking. In fact, I've just done about 4 cohorts at Safaricom, and we are getting people who are maybe at the call center to become cloud computing kind of specialists, to become potentially machine learners or data scientists, and it can be done. So you don't have to necessarily have a degree for that to happen. So I think in terms of the fourth industrial revolution, what will be fit for purpose for me would be those elements of learning agility, a bit about adaptability. Somebody called the soft skills. That's about empathy, but it's also how you connect with others. And then you cannot just have one domain. It is cross-domain expertise. And that will be first a context for me in terms of where do I see us playing in terms of the bit on future fit skills. So that's one piece. The second bit that I will tell you that I have seen, and I've said this over time, the people who will survive are the people who will have a toolkit, a survival toolkit. And I want to ask you the question, what is in your toolbox? Because in your toolbox, then it is the how to. And there could be engineers in this forum. If you are to be asked to go to Mount Kenya, I have climbed a couple of mountains. I went to Mount Sinai and Mount Kenya, and we had to wear different outfits from what I had before I started the journey. And actually, as you go up, you start shedding some of the stuff. So the question I have for you is, what is in your toolbox? And I wanted to have that as something we can unpack as we go along. And then the third piece is, what is success? Daisy said success for her is having money working for her, having not to work, and just enjoying life. I love it. For me, when I was growing up, I met one of the managers at Barclays, and he told me, Paul, you should be in a place where after about 20 years of work, you have money that can make you not work, unless it is a passion you are in. You don't have to. You may work if you want, but you don't have to wake up and go to work. And we went through financial planning. I remember when I went to the UK, I started actually looking at just moving up property ladder. And I had to say one or two things in terms of where do I want to be in this time? And in there is a bit about your wheel of life. And I want to say, if you look at the wheel of life as part of what is in your toolkit, the wheel of life will give you a full bouquet of life where you can enjoy, but you can also live a life that you feel you have inner peace. There are some people who develop muscles only in certain areas and they live the other part of their life. So you may find you push your career at the expense of your health, or you may push career at the expense of your relationships, or you may push career and abandon your family, or you may follow hobbies and you abandon your friends. So it is a case of the wheel of life, I think, is something that I've had to live with, to say, for you to be future fit, you must fix the masks for you or your own mask before you fix the masks of others. I'm talking in analogies, but I want to still ask, what is in your toolbox? Because in your toolbox, then you start being relevant. You start being fit for purpose. We have about 5 generations in the workplace. There are few surviving baby boomers, or actually not baby boomers, silent generation. Several baby boomers who are chairs or founder CEOs. We have Generation X, Generation Y, the millennials, digital natives are in here. But there's another generation that I have seen called the perennials. And the perennials are relevant irrespective of the season. So the question I have for you is that how do you become a perennial? That's why I want this to be a discussion and a provocation to say the people who have survived are the perennials, not people who have an age set and I say I belong to the millennial bit. Because if you're a millennial, the digital natives will make you feel like an old lady or old man in town. So that piece of how do you become relevant? How do you become fit for purpose? So Ben talked about relevance. For me, the relevance is then saying, how do I become a perennial? And I'll come to that in terms of the how to. But I want you to have the tool in your toolbox is ask yourself that question of how do I become relevant? Now, the starting point for me is visualization. And I ran, and I'm not going to try to do it now, but I was in charge of 11 countries and 2 functions for Barclays in Africa. And I was based out of London and Poole. So in Bournemouth, not far from Bournemouth, Dorset. And we ran a career workshop when we started relocating to Africa, because we had 150 IT network engineers in Poole. And when we talked of career, and I then later started running that program in Barclays, Kenya. I did it at Kenya Airways. I did it at EABL, less so at Safaricom. But when we did that, then we started defining what is a career. And a career is sum total of your experiences. The sum total of your experiences will define your career direction. I'll ask you this question, and please indulge me. If you were to recruit a personal driver, I said indulge me, because you'll tell me, Paul, which universe am I in? Which personal driver am I looking at? But if you were to recruit a chauffeur or a personal driver, and I gave you two people, one is a driver who has done 15 years, driving from Kangemi to Kencom daily for 15 years, and an Uber driver who has done 5 years in Nairobi. Who would you recruit?
So Uber.
No, I said 15 years. So 15 years is experience. Why Uber? Alban would go with the 15-year Stardust driver from Kangemi to Kencom. Okay. Who would go for the Uber? I had Monkey will go for the 15-year-old, 15-year experience.
Yes.
Florence, you'd go for the 15-year.
Actually, no, I was raising my hand for this guy.
So you'd go for Brian has his hands up. Jire says 15 years, Uber, 5 years.
Uber.
So what do you consider to be experience? So some of you have written Uber. I will not assume your intelligence. Now, it says the experience of an Uber guy in one day can be the experience of that Stardust driver for a week. Because you'll go to a place and find there's a Stanchart marathon and the road has been blocked and we'll have to look for an alternative. He'll need to find a way of getting and navigating through the bit. Ignore Google Map. But the point about that, he will deal with different demanding passengers. He will navigate and make decisions. And there lies the point. And I asked my colleagues at Safaricom, are you an Uber driver or are you a Stardust driver? And some didn't like me for it. But later, some came and said, Paul, I thought, and thank you, Jacinda, that is exactly it. What Jacinda has written there about the experiences. So in terms of career, I'm an economist by training. I don't know how I ended up in HR. So when you say you did, you started Nguti, Wycliffe, you did graphic design and maths and econ, I remember you were told, I know you were, I give you a degree and do all that appertains to it. So anything you do is whatever pertains to it. So there is nothing that weds you to the certificate you had. In fact, and this is what I tell some parents, there are kids who do degrees because the fathers or mothers want them to do the degree. So a doctor, a what, and afterwards they give the degree back to the parents and they say, let me go and do my DJing because that is my passion. And there lies the piece of whenever you're looking for a career, look for two things. What is your passion? That's the number one thing I tell people. And number two, what are you good at? Where do you excel? Imagine when you are young and you are told, dry or draw water. And some of us would ask, my goodness, how do I draw water? Do I draw a bucket? Do I draw? And there's some chaps who would come in and do some amazing stuff. Stay in that space. If it is being a chef, stay in that place. I'm an Arsenal fan. When I was in London, we won the last, that tells you how long it was, the last premiership. trust the process. But I wanted to play the bit about when we talked about, when I was talking to these engineers, I said, a career is, yes, it was hybrid. A career is your sum total of your experiences. But then the other bit you have to do, once you have your will of life, visualize, dream it. And when you dream, then set your own goals that follow there. And those goals then will start defining how you progress along the way. So for me, if you asked me, the starting point for a career is where you define your goals and say, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? And when you define what you want to be and what you want to do, then you start having your own plan. It's the beginning of the year, but re-examine yourself and say, how do I become fit for purpose? Let me tell you the things I will look for when I'm looking for an executive today. And that executive could be a startup executive. It could be a CEO for a smaller company. It could be an ExCo member. For starters, there are three things that differentiate talent. When you want to look, in fact, that's the other thing. When you want to differentiate talent, I call it JDI, judgment, drive, and influence. And in judgment, drive, and influence, you will find the intellect, but much more problem solving. What is your logic? How do you approach issues? What is in your toolkit will start defining your judgment. People talk of gut feel. I normally say gut feel is your banked knowledge. So for starters, and I think for me, the one thing is judgment is a big thing for potential. Number two is your drive. And the drive, the question I have for you is, are you driven by something inside, or are you driven by an external force? What wakes you up in the morning? If your purpose doesn't inspire you, then it is not good enough. If what you visualize is not big enough for you to start saying, I want to be that person. And when I ran this career workshop, I told people to visualize 10 years from where they were at the time. And you know what? Somebody will say, I loved one lady, and she said the year was, let's assume today, 2033. And I'm sitting at the backyard of my 1-acre mansion in Karen, facing Gong Hills, and reading a magazine where I am on the front page as one of the most successful business women, entrepreneurs in the country. For me, dreaming is a start of that. So that purpose should be making you wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I am a man, I am a lady on a mission. So I will ask you, what is your mission? And even if you're starting a small company, you can say, I want this company. I want this design outfit to be the go-to area or provider in this particular domain. So that piece of, again, your purpose should be your driver. And the third thing after judgment, drive, is influence. And I'll tell you this. I went for a program with Barclays. This was in the UK, and it was called Selecting the Best. And we were asked the question, if you went to a bar today, if you went to Milan, or you went to Alchemist, or you went to church, or you went to watch, or you even went for a Rotary event, are you able to tell talent from the way people are interacting? If you go to a place, or if you look at kids playing, can you tell a kid who can be a prefect? Can you tell somebody who will become a CEO? It was a very interesting bit. And somebody said, actually, You can tell a leader by the way they hold their glass. Interesting. You can tell somebody who can self-manage themselves, or who can manage themselves and manage others. The leaders I know must lead themselves before they lead others. Nobody will follow you if you can't lead yourself. Braveheart says, lead and we shall follow. So that base of how do you influence, most of us influence through push. And push is what you see in debating club, where you say, this is my position. You argue with logic, you argue with words, you argue with intellect. But actually the best people who win or influence are people who come and say, I want to do a pull influencing. So remember what I said in your toolkit. How do you influence becomes another bit of success for people. And we will put graduates in a role play and watch them as they interact with one another. And there are people we will never take, even though they had the right judgment and the right drive, because they were crap in influencing. They didn't know how to build teamwork. That's what you are calling soft skills, but that is what makes a differentiator. So judgment, drive, and influence. I want to give you two more, and then we can do some interaction. I talked about the fourth industrial revolution. And the one thing that has differentiated, and this is what I'm using even at now Safaricom from last year, and it's called learning agility. And the ability to learn and unlearn is a competence in itself. But in learning agility, it talks of mental agility. And that is about, if I post a question, how fast do you respond to it? And you know what? Sometimes it's just, again, what is in your toolbox. Because you can develop a way of saying, whenever you are posed with a question, this is how you'll approach it. So you have almost like a model of how to. So the bit about mental agility is number one. Number two is results agility. And results agility is, it doesn't matter what job you are doing today. When you are given, you've heard this before, when you are given a drum, beat that drum to a point where everybody says, who is that drummer? Who is that person with the guitar? If you are told to sweep a floor, sweep it in a way that people say, my goodness, this is the best, this is the cleanest floor that ever was. Actually, if you're told clean the toilets, the best guys who grow later are the people who will clean it to the best. Now, those of you may have worked out of the country will know, graduate trainees or grads, during their vacations will go and work somewhere else. When you do that, you'll actually go and work as a waiter. The guys who do their job with the zeal, enthusiasm, are the guys who will most likely grow and outpace others. When I was recruiting my management trainees, I would make them cashiers. And there are people who told me I can't do cashiering, and I actually didn't take them. So the bit about resource agility. The third is about change agility. We don't know how tomorrow will look like. So after vendor agility, you go resource agility, you go change agility. Then the fourth one is people agility. How do you interact with different people and different personalities? And the basis of those four of learning agility is emotional intelligence. And sometimes having that emotional intelligence will make you navigate through very difficult situations. I normally say emotional intelligence is two things. It is personal competence, which is self-awareness and self-management. And it is social competence, which is knowing people and managing people. And managing is not about bootlicking. Emotional intelligence is about personal competence, which is about self-awareness and self-management. Like I know I'm at worst in certain situations and I'm at best in certain situations. And therefore I'll manage myself around that. And then managing others. I've worked with 14 CEOs and I have enjoyed my run. So that piece of emotional intelligence will underpin learning agility of mental agility, resource agility, change agility, and people agility. The final piece, when I am now doing CEO recruitment, I look at 4 things. And by the way, this is from my head, I'm not reading anywhere. And the first thing I look is your experience. Remember the 15 years and the 5 years. So you leading a Rotaract club, that's an experience. People say, but I've never been employed. How can I lead? How can I have experience? I'm like, my goodness, you can be an experienced person even without any employment. So I think for me, that is what I would be speaking. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever you are, you need to ensure that you have that as a minimum. So I think for me, experience is the first thing. What are the experiences you are earning? What are you doing? Speak. Number 2 is about your competencies. And in competencies is about, I've just gone agile at Safaricom. And what we were looking for are people not with the degrees, but people with domain expertise. So I'll ask you, what is the domain expertise that you are developing? What are you good at? Now, I was looking at some of the skills that we are recruiting for. We prioritize 9 skill areas. We talked of Fintech. Fintech is a big place that we don't even seem to have enough skilled professionals with the right domain expertise. So it's about digital product management, design thinking, analytics, the blockchain. So Fintech is one area that has become a big ask. We are finding AI and machine learning, artificial intelligence. That's another big skill area that we are missing. We can't have enough at the moment. Cloud computing, because this is where now you start moving away from systems to something else. Internet of Things is the 4th one. Robotics and process automation. People are looking for, how do I become more relevant? Big data and analytics, I talked about that. So whether it's data science or data engineering, that's another area that is coming through. And then software engineering and the user experience, or UX, etc. What I'm trying to explain here are skills, but I'm also saying competencies are both technical, functional, but also personal competencies. Get a coach, get a mentor, try to develop certain skills that will then make you move and become a domain expert. There will be about 5 levels of your domain expertise. You can either be an associate, a practitioner, a professional, an expert, or a master. So that will be the second piece in terms of what we are looking for, competencies. But then there are also traits. What is your personality? What are you? Who are you? What is your personality like? And how do you manage it? Because that self-awareness is important. And then the final one that we look for is what drives you? And I will always ask that question when I'm interviewing an exec. What drives you? Are you driven by impact? Are you driven by driving a bigger agenda? Are you driven by routine, or are you driven by complexity? My last thing, and Mr. President, I'll come back to you, is for you to be relevant, 3 things will differentiate you: mindset, skill set, and tool set. What will it be? And how do you ensure that fits within your visualization and your purpose? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. I see silence might mean either people are confused or deep in thought. I can see people clapping. Virtual hands, Brian. Thank you. Thank you. I think we'll take a couple of questions. Paul, how much time do you have? You're muted.
No, let's just allow an interaction and discussion. I would say as long as it takes.
Okay, that's quite a good one. So let's have our hands up. You can type in the chat, but if you want to ask by yourself, just raise your hand and we'll pick it up. So if you want to ask by yourself, put your hand up in the chat, virtual hand up. If you want us to read it out for you, put it in the chat. So Jure will go first.
Okay. Paul, thank you so much for sharing. I was taking notes. I really enjoyed your speech or your preparation speech. I have a few questions. I'm currently in the US, but originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I moved to the US for school and I ended up staying here for a while. But I love Africa in general. And I always want to go back. And listening to you talk, my question for you is I know you also share that you were in the United Kingdom for some time, and I'm assuming either you're still there or you're back in Kenya. But my goal is to be able to go back to Africa. I don't care the country. It could be Kenya, it could be Congo, wherever, whoever's ready to receive me, to do some kind of, use some like experiences that I'm learning here and use it back home in whatever country in terms of leadership, skill learning, technology, whatever that may be, but to have like a hybrid work environment where I can move around. So do you have any advice for people like me who is abroad, but deeply in love with Africa and want to find an opportunity where he can be able to go back and empower those that are in Africa and so on?
Okay, thank you, Jure. There's a question by Innocent in the chat.
I have it.
All right.
Yeah. Let's take a third one if there is, and then I can respond.
That question.
If none, let me just go. Jire, first, thank you very much for keeping your camera on. You actually kept me company, and I felt like I was just talking to you and the president. And I'm being brutally honest. If I had a job, I would employ you immediately because I think you're a fine lad. But I think in terms of diaspora, one of the things that I found very interesting is although diaspora talent has the skills, remember what I said about the experience, the skills, there was one big item that was missing, and it was fitting back in terms of culture shock. So they'll come back and find the Africa you left is very different. And actually, it's not Africa is different. You are different. You have changed, and therefore you come in and you don't understand people, and people not even understand you. So you connecting with for instance, with us, keeps you absolutely aligned, because you'll find things that will hit you like a tornado in terms of coming in, and then you find you actually can't fit. And it will start from even a social bit where people will come in and say, I was passing by and I've come to your house. And you say, oh, but you could have told me you're coming, or I had this. And they say, no, but so the bit about personal space and the like, I think that will be one bit that I would say, watch out from the word go. But in terms of what are some of the opportunities that exist, I normally define work is a space, not a place. You can ask yourself, are there some roles that are emerging? Google has just set up in Kenya. Microsoft has set up and said they want 500, let alone they are saying now they will let go 11,000 of their employees. But you can still work with some of the international organizations, even remotely from where you are. You can go to the websites of most of the organizations, and some are looking for talent. If you have the skills, remember what I said about the skill set. And I'm going to Innocent's point of skill set is about a certain knowledge that you have, but also you can do something with that knowledge. So if it is the cloud computing, it's not the knowledge piece. It is a skill that you develop. So the skills are the competencies that you have, either technical or personal, that will help you do that. So if you want to come to Africa, and I'm answering both questions at the same time, Innocent, a toolbox, a toolkit is the how to. Let me give you an example. It could be the how to give feedback, the how to prepare. So it's more of a model, a framework. The toolbox is more of what are the models for, like giving feedback is example, effect, and change. How do you coach? That's in your toolbox. It's a skill, but when you make it the how to, becomes very easy then to differentiate the two. Skill is more of a proficiency. Toolbox is more of a survival kit that can help you manage, but there will be some bit of overlaps. So, Jira, if you can throw your CV to some of the organizations, some are looking for diversity. So they will look for talent beyond, or African talent that would want to come back to Africa. It becomes a kind of a meeting of two minds. So I'll say, open up and throw your CV around, but don't limit yourself. You can still work from anywhere in the world. Eric, thank you. And I hope I've answered you, Jire. Innocent, I hope I've answered you. How do you make yourself relevant to be in the market? I think it is around the mindset, skill set, and tool set. But one of the things that I found very interesting is how you network. If you can start exposing yourself to people and situations that will enable you to stand out, you will most likely start attracting potential businesses or players. So my answer to you there is around network and look for even mentors and look for buddies, because making yourself relevant is where you also go to industry events. Like there are marketing events coming in. I'm wearing an innovation week. I went to Sarit Center and I was speaking around future skills, digital skills, and I met people there. And guess what? Some of them sent their CVs. I forwarded them to the guys who are doing resourcing, and some were called for an interview. I don't know how it ended up. But for you to then to sell yourself, put yourself in positions where you are visible. And I will ask you this question. Who is managing your brand? Either as an entrepreneur or as a potential talent. And just network and go to LinkedIn, go to some of the social media platforms and participate or engage with people as you go along. Mr. President, I can see one of my own, Steve Omolo, asking how does one ace aptitude test and where one needs to take care of as it is almost a requirement. Psychometric tests test two things. They test your numerical reasoning. So you'll be given, how do you reason with numbers? But they also test your verbal reasoning. So it's more about your aptitude, and therefore it's also about, and this is where the competence-based curriculum is actually right, because it helps you to start thinking and it develops speed. So if you can look at some of the, I'll say some of the teasers that exist, and there are a lot of tools out there you can use. Aptitude tests, you can even start doing them, because what happens is that you start now developing speed. At Kenya Airways, I used to recruit pilots. and I would do aptitude test, which was verbal and numeric reasoning. I would do psychomotor test, which was working with this, with shapes, you know, like the Harry Potter going with a broom. How do you navigate? Because there is what you see, but how do you react? And there are tests for that. And you can actually find some of those in the open. And then we also did personality questionnaires. And it was more like, in situations, how do you react? How do you, so there are quite a battery of tests that come in, but they also predict your ability to succeed in certain jobs. So it is not about, I want to ace it. It's more around what are the jobs that I can fit. But there are quite a number of forums and sites you can also try to test yourself with some of those. Ben.
Thank you. My question is about leadership. So as one of young leaders, we end up finding ourselves in room of people who are leaders or people who have been in leadership positions for quite a while. So in that aspect, when in that room, do you automatically switch to be a follower, or how do you again, because as you said, you need also to display your leadership skill and you might end up messing around. So do you become automatically a follower in the room of leaders, or how do you present yourself and the skills required?
A good question, Ben. And I hope I answered your question of relevance, because I was looking at the questions as I spoke through at the very beginning.
Yes, you did.
When I was 26, I became a chair of a secondary school board of management in my village. And I had bank managers who came in, some people who were almost my father's age, and I was a chair. And I remember what one of my mentors told me, and they said, the agenda on the table is about education. None of us has a degree. You get it. So there's a part where you'll say, there's a reason why you're being put in that position. And I know there's something called the imposter syndrome, where you say, am I good enough? For the ladies, it's worse, because when you apply for a job, you'll say, I need to be 90% there. 60% is good enough for some, in fact, 40 is good enough for some gentlemen. I think when you are there, define the agenda and say, we are here for this reason. And in there, that's why I was saying, start looking at what is in your toolkit. How do you lead? And the first thing is, how do you set an agenda that is absolutely beyond age? Because the agenda on the table is not about age. It's about what do we do? I became a manager. I became a head of HR when I was 37, in a different country. And I was the first HR director in a bank in that country, non-national, so a foreigner. And I went in, and what I did was first build rapport, build respect, and build trust. There is something we call a relationship model. And the first thing you need to do in a relationship is about empathy. Seek context. Number two, genuine interest. Be interested in these people and say, so who are you? And let me understand you. Third is a positive intent. And the fourth one is about trust and cadre. I have a personal example. My father trained Titus Nakuni in Magadi Soda because he was in charge of a certain bit. But Titus later went to become the CEO of that organization when my father was there. A young chap became that. So I think for you, it's about the skills you bring to the table. Remember what I said about experience, competencies, traits, and drivers. Judgment, drive, and influence. That is what will see you succeed. And just acknowledge you don't have to have an answer to everything. I have people who are better than me in certain areas, and I'm still their boss. So that, I think, is something you need to differentiate. And that's why you need to just tell yourself, there is something that you'll add value. I hope I've answered you, Ben, but thank you for being active this evening.
Thank you very much. Well answered.
Mr. President, there's a question about how do you connect to a mentor? I think reach out to people, even in LinkedIn. Write to people and follow a few people that you feel inspire you. And some of the mentors actually may be too busy for you, but you can also follow some of the write-ups, because when you do that, you'll actually find you get some tips and nuggets that are absolutely amazing. But you can also have a buddy, and you can be together and you start challenging one another and you work together. Mr. President, back to you.
I think we can close with the two final questions, mostly being selfish because one is mine. Distinguish a mentor and a coach. And then there is Job's question, I think, which shall be our last. What's your take on employee retention versus engagement? Is employee loyalty in terms of staying within an organization for a long time still important in today's context?
No, thank you. And thank you, Mr. President, and everybody for your questions. I think the one on a mentor is somebody who has been there, gotten a t-shirt, and will tell. Sometimes a mentor is a teacher. That's how I would call a mentor. And if you look at even the Far East, a mentor is somebody who is a guru in an area, somebody who has expertise in a certain area, and therefore they will work with you. And an apprentice, a mentor works with an apprentice. That is how I would call it. A coach, toolkit for coaching. I'm a personal coach. I'm a personal, but I'm an executive coach. I have a coaching model. So you'll find a coach is somebody who purely facilitates a coachee to discover themselves. So you ask questions, you don't tell. Even when you have an answer, you frame it in form of a question. And a coach's tool is questioning. And they use I normally call them one husband, 4 wives. So you use the H for how. So how have you done this? But the wives will be, what have you considered? Where have you been? Who can you work with? And when? You never use why in coaching. We normally say that because why becomes a defensive. But a coach normally asks, a mentor tells or teaches. Is a simple answer I will give to that. And I hope I've answered both of you. Job, thank you for this, because I also wanted to answer the question you said about the difference between employability and employment, and retention and engagement. And let me start with the first part of, I once closed branches in Barclays. And there was one cashier in Homa Bay who, even though we closed the branch in Homa Bay, every branch manager in the bank was like, please, Paul, give me that cashier. That cashier had employment security, not job security. Employment security versus job security is how I describe, a job is what you do. Employment security is the skills you have. The perennials have employment security, have employability, rather than they are employed. So I tell guys, never be worried about the job you're doing. Worry about your relevance. The relevance that Perpetua spoke to, no, not Perpetua, it was Ben, I think. It was Ben that spoke to, it was what Mwangi spoke to around, are you relevant? That's employability. Employment is a job. Employability is bigger than that. Now, employee retention, engagement is a retention tool, but it's not the only one. So employee retention is when you win the hearts and minds of your employees to a point where they want to be part of the future. It's a connection beyond now. So that when you look at employee retention, it there are several drivers for retention. And actually, this is a topic you can even speak for an hour. Line managers are the first retention tool, I normally say. 67% of people who resign are people who cannot stand their managers. So when you look at retention, it is people work for certain identity of leaders. People want friends. Retention is about a sense of belonging, but it's also a case of saying, my retention will be, I want to be here because I'm contributing to a purpose. In fact, your generation is now looking for organizations that have a bigger calling than just a job. And therefore you say, that's how you retain people. Reward is one retention tool, but it's not a retention. You can look at retention tools beyond reward. Engagement is about, are people looking forward to coming to work? And like during COVID times, I discovered one of the things I did was to look for CEOs in the teams. And the CEOs are chief energy officers. And these are guys who somehow can keep teams together. And the engagement tools like Zoom, like Teams, were there for people to interact. And you can find Teams, actually the best way to get engaged is to use Teams to engage one another rather than the organization. So engagement can drive retention, but retention is more than engagement. Thank you very much, guys. It has been a pleasure, and I hope it was worth you are dialing in this evening and morning for those outside of the country.
Thank you very much, Paul. Definitely a full hour full of learning and a lot of note-taking and, thinking about 2023. But on our behalf, I request Dr. Innocent to give a vote of thanks. Innocent?
Thank you very much, President SK. It's been a while since you last met, and at least it's good to see that the club is going on vizuri venye the name stands, Jabali. And I want to also thank our guest speaker today and tonight, depending on where you are. He probably doesn't remember this, but the first time we got to interact was when we were chartering our club, and we were finding ways in which we could fundraise for our club. And he gave me good advice, and which later led to one of our highlight charter parties of that year. So for that, I'm grateful. And the talk, I had to log in. I'm sure that is one of the reasons we had such a huge sitting this evening and this morning. I have to be sensitive. This evening and this morning. And there are several things that I'm sure each one of us has gone home with. One of the things he mentioned, one of the things Paul Kasimu you mentioned was JDI. I being a hip hop fan, I remember it as GID. There is a hip hop an artist known as Jid. So judgment, influence, and drive. That I think has also been one of the key things that has made me venture into a field that is slightly deviated from what I have done, but I think we all relate in various fields. We have maybe done a course that's different from what you're practicing at present. In our stages right now in our different careers. And the career so far, as we've now gathered, it's our experience. Yes, so I would say thank you to everyone who has logged in. Thank you to our speaker. Thank you, President and the team for organizing this. I feel like it was well placed being an online one because it has managed to gather so many people from different regions. So, and in the spirit of judgment, drive, and influence, I'd want to remind everyone that this year, I'll be launching my book. It's strange, but it's interesting. Strange, but interesting. And I hope you'll be present during that launch. Yes, so I'd want to thank everyone for this, and to hopefully we'll catch up in the next couple of years to see how we've achieved different metrics of success. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Innocent. I'm really interested now that we need to meet up and know the book and your plans. And you're deviating from being a doctor. But thank you very much for moving a vote of thanks. Thank you very much, Paul, for starting us off in 2023. We had decided that whichever date you give us is the date we shall start our fellowships. So thank you for your time. Thank you for spending the evening with us. Asante sana. Please give us the next 8 of your minutes before you move on to your evening plans, just for a bit of Rotary, our club's announcement. So this has been our first fellowship of 2023, and I think also happens to be the only fellowship in January. Many people have requested the link to this fellowship. Our PR team will upload it on YouTube in the coming days. Mutie, you can confirm that when this will be up on YouTube, and shared within our circles. So you'll be sure you'll get this link. I'm sure we all didn't capture everything, so it's good to listen in and note all the important nuggets. Given that this is only our first fellowship of the year and the only one in Jan, Feb will be a bit busy, actually very busy. So we have the next fellowship in 2 weeks. As a club, we meet once in 2 weeks on Wednesday evening from 7:45 to 9-ish. That could be 9, but mostly 9:30 towards 10. So our next fellowship is on the 1st of Feb, and we shall be having a discussion on the Rotary Sunshine Rally. Very many people know about the Sunshine Rally, but also it has been off for 3 years because of COVID. So the Sunshine Rally is back this year. And for anyone in Kenya, Sunshine Rally is the biggest Rotary event every single year, pre-COVID and now post-COVID. So in our next fellowship, we'll be hosting the chair of the Rotary Sunshine Rally to tell us what is in plan for this year. Sunshine Rally will be on March, I forget the date, but the first Saturday of March. So for us to plan and for us to know how we shall plug in as a club, we shall host past President Saum Siraj to tell us about the Sunshine Rally, which will be on the first Saturday of March. But for us to prepare, we'll have a discussion on the 1st of Feb. Then on Saturday 4th, there's the Family of Rotary Fun Day. This is a joint event of all Rotary clubs in Nairobi and environs. It shall be at the Nairobi Academy on Langata Road all day on Saturday the 4th. We've been circulating this. Ben has been requesting your registration. If you have not yet registered, just go through our WhatsApp chats. We don't have too many groups. So I think I've seen it on all the groups that we are in. So please register. And also our social media team, please put it on our social media in case someone is not in our WhatsApp group and they may want to attend. Family of Rotary brings together members, friends, guests anyone within the Rotary circles, not just members. You're very welcome to the event. On 4th, charges are 750 for our members. It's a group pack, so we are calculating that we shall get the minimum per person. So you have to get the highest number of people to get the minimum package per person. And then we'll have a fellowship on Wednesday 15th. We are working on the details, but we do this quite often where we have fellowships back to back on Wednesdays. So on Wednesday 22nd, we shall be hosting DG Azeb for her official visit to our Rotary Club. DG stands for District Governor, and she shall be visiting our club on the 22nd. You do remember she officiated our charter in July. So she is finishing her leg of official visits to Rotary clubs in the district. And actually ours is slated to be her final district visit this year. So 22nd of February is a very important day for us as a club, our first DG visit. So in Feb, that is our tentative plan. So all the 4 are confirmed, then we'll plug in some more as and when the board and the committees come up with the plan. Yeah, so I think that's all in terms of announcements. And at this moment, we'll welcome our Sergeant at Arms for happies and sads, or happy dollar and sad dollars. For this session, anyone can unmute and or type on the chat, tell us a reason you're grateful. I'm coming across that word very often these days for people who journal, and the first thing you always journal about is what you're grateful today. So I think we can adopt that. Tell us what you're grateful for today, or for this week, or for January, or for this year. Tell us what you're expecting, or anything that you may have a sad dollar for. Sergeant at Arms, over to you. The monies raised here go to our admin club kitty. So all the funds via M-Pesa from whichever side of the world you may be logging in from. I'm sure M-Pesa is working everywhere if you have the M-Pesa app. And this is not a Safaricom advert. So over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much. So I think you've covered it all. So I'll just open the floor. You can unmute and speak, or if you're feeling a little bit shy, I'm here for you. Just do the typing. I will do the speaking for you. The floor is open.
Ben?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So 4 happy dollars. The first one is to all our attendees for taking their time to join us this evening. Second one is to appreciate our leadership for bringing us this far. Yeah, now we are 6 months, officially 6 months old. And the last 2 is for Paul. It's always good to hear from you, and I've been one of the beneficiaries of your one-to-one coaching, and it's always good to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can actually hear there's someone at the background who is actually happy as well. Yes, Cassandra.
Friends and family of Rotary, good evening. Yes, I have 2 happy dollars. One for all of you. This is my first time attending your fellowship. Yeah, and then the second one is to Paul. Always been listening to him, especially from your end, Parklands, when he was telling us about JDIs. And we used it in the interviews. So now we are on our second job. So thank you so much, Paul. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you all.
Thank you, Cassandra. Eric.
Happy to Doras for today's talk. It was amazing. I've learned a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're also having a happy dollar from Senorita for the great speaker as well.
Then you can remind Eva we were looking for her earlier.
Yeah. We admitted her. So, Eva, you can find yourself. And she actually left.
Hi, Ben. You can start by telling me you were looking for me first, for what reason, then I accept this fine. I was late today.
We will see you. The reasons are, we will see you with the president, Ukoyuba, after you find yourself. But it was for a good cause, don't be worried. Yes, Mr. Muller.
Thank you, Ben. I would like to give 5 happies. So first is for being back in class in this year. The second one is I think to all Arsenal fans. There's a big game coming up in the weekend, so I know the banter will be very, very good in the group. And lastly, I think for the speaker, for the really wonderful discussion and really a lot of insights, especially to me as a business owner. So I really appreciate. Thank you.
Okay. Soma kwa bidii. Hapo kwa Arsenal kulikuwa na interference, then we had the speaker part.
Well played, Ben. Well played.
Sir Francis, floor is yours.
Thank you. 2 happy dollars. One, it's my first time this is my first fellowship for this year, and also to fellowship with the RotaryJabali. And the other happy is that it's also a good day because I found my friend as a guest speaker. He's someone who I look up to. So thank you very much.
You're much welcome. It's a very nice way to start your year with Jabali. We are having 3 happies from Kennedy for the great talk. Another 2 happy dollars from Adam. One is for the manifesting for the new year, and the others go to not turning on the camera. Yeah, you've reminded me. The camera people, you can start lining up yourselves. Paul is given 5 happy dollars. Jacinta, 3 happy dollars. The people, Mr. President, just give us the 2 minutes, 1 minute for the people who spoke previously before turning on their camera, me being the ring leader. So I'll give 2, one for camera problems and the other one for the happy meeting.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Anyone who we might be closing out? Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us this evening. This has been definitely an insightful fellowship. So much to take home, so much to think through, and also replan your year if you had already made some plans and you have some new insights. I think, part of, being a perennial is learning every day. And this was one of those days. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have all registered on the link in the chat. Let me just share that once again. So once our media team gets your email, you'll get not spam emails, but you'll be alerted of every of our fellowships. We meet once in 2 weeks. So you'll get it in your email a week or so in advance, so that you don't miss any of our fellowships. We keep it from about 7:45. We start officially at 8 and end at about 9, sometimes 9:30. And the banter after this continues to about 10, or, catching up and banter about Arsenal and all the other teams that are doing well. So you're welcome to join us throughout 2023. We are also preparing to welcome new members. So if you're interested in joining RotaryJabali, Francis, if you're interested in transferring from, I'll not say which Rotary club, but if you're interested in changing clubs, we welcome everyone. We welcome transfers. We welcome newbies. We are one big Rotary family, RotaryJabali. So with that said, let's give a final toast. So in recognition of the Rotary clubs of Muthaiga, Rotary Club of Milimani, Rotaract Club of Nairobi Parklands. Seeing if there's any that I've left out. Rotaract Club of Langata. And RotaryJabali, I give you Rotary the world over. To Rotary the world over. Oh, and Rotary Club of Nyeri. Thank you, Dr. Wangeshi, for joining us. To Rotary the world over.
To Rotary and the world over.
Okay, where is Antoine? Antoine is there. Is the one who always unmutes and shouts on behalf of everyone. Antoine, how are you? Are you still at work?
Very well, thanks. I just got out of work, so it's all good then. Thanks.
Okay. Asanteni kila mtu. See you in exactly 2 weeks. Or see you even before then.
SK, I think we're waiting for you to stop recording.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Mutie, please ensure this goes online. The number of text messages and private DMs of the link are too many. Mutie? Watu wanakugoja.
Yes, sure, I will do so.
How is school?
I'm learning.
Are we still recording?
No, you're not recording.
I think we are.
Gaia has banters, banda. Hey.
I think we are.
I stopped recording. What happened?